Welcome to this special interview with WCUPA Life. I'm joined by the incredible Dr. Diaz Pino, a professor at Westchester University's Media and Culture Department. His work and teachings focus on media production, animation, and global media study. He's extremely passionate about helping students bring their creative visions to life. We are lucky enough to gain his insight today on the MDC major and film minor and the opportunities that students have to gain hands-on experience here at WCU. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you so much for having me. And I am very passionate, extremely. I'll try to live up to that.
Yeah. Can we start with just giving an introduction about your career and how you got to where you are today?
Absolutely. So, growing up, mostly I was in New Zealand. We moved around quite a bit. I got really passionate about animation and filmmaking when I was like 13, and I found this like stop motion animation book in our school library. Hooray for school libraries. From that point, like I was just like dead set on filmmaking, but I did do like a regular degree. So I got my BA with a combination in political studies and what we call in New Zealand film, television, and media studies. Kind of a mouthful, but basically the MDC that we have here at the university. From there, I did my graduate studies in full-on media studies. While then, right after that, I went to animation school for like a couple of years. It is a school that no longer exists. It was not a great animation school, but it gave me the opportunity to start building a portfolio and dip my toe in different types of animation and filmmaking. I ended up mostly staying in the realm of post-production. I've done a little bit of a TV direction for a now defunct MTV clone that existed in New Zealand. It was a nonprofit clone, hence, it didn't last very long. And since then, I've bounced around in a bunch of little independent projects. Eventually, I came to the United States to do grad school, was in a couple bands, worked in a couple of video projects during that time, and because later on in the interview process, apparently being into filmmaking was a rarer skill than others, and so they brought me in here in order to do that hybrid thing where I can both talk about media theory, media history, media industries, media analysis, if you want to learn symbology and all that, and then on the production side. So hybrid skill sets, you think they're not going to be that great for you, they end up helping you quite a bit, at least within my trajectory.
Yeah, that's incredible. So with like all that experience and then kind of being here at WCU now, what kind of classes do you think current Westchester students should take in order to kind of build their portfolio and get into that production realm?
Sure. I'm going to talk up my classes. I'm sorry, can I retake that? Yeah. I'm going to talk up my classes because they are my favorites and the ones I'm most familiar with, but I'm sure there are many others. That being said, within the MDC line, 217 and 317 are really like my cherished babies, 217 being intro to video production, and then 317 being the advanced version. The advanced, at least in the way I teach it, being I just give you tasks and let you do what you want with them. Beyond that, we also have our very basic digital production class 251, which doesn't lean as heavily into the video production, but still provides a lot of the skill sets that people need in order to familiarize themselves with like digital production workflows in general. Beyond that, I would look into our FLM classes, which are actually under the English department. Within the production side, we try to teach you the skill sets on the practical level of how to use cameras, of how to use editing bays, and like the language that you would need with a little bit of analysis. But if you really want to know the mechanics of what a film is, how it communicates, and how you go about communicating through that medium on a deeper, more analytical level, those are the FLM classes, right? That's like the theory that then we engage with on the practical level in the production classes.
Yeah. Do you think it's beneficial for media and culture students who are trying to get into that production realm to also take the FLM classes and maybe be a film minor?
I think there's a strong synergy there, yes. In other film programs where you have more of an integration between the theory and the analysis and the production side, quite often you'll have prerequisites in which students would then have to take film analysis classes before anybody let them touch a camera. We don't do that here, and there's advantages and disadvantages to both paradigms, but if you want to know why something works, if you want to know what good filmmaking or videography or any type of communication is through the platform that you choose, being able to look at the history of analyzing that platform and the important messages that have been conveyed through that platform, at least personally, I think that's essential. Which is to say then that I'm not going to say you have to do an FLM minor, but taking a couple FLM classes, especially if they touch upon areas of communication and like narrative that you're already interested in, I would absolutely recommend that, yeah.
Yeah, awesome. What about outside of Westchester? If a student is trying to go into that production field, what advice do you have for them to break into that field that is historically hard to break into?
Sure. One of the things that I would consider is that there are really multiple parallel and even intersecting pathways into becoming a media producer. The old way of doing things, in which you would have to appeal to somebody's boss, right? In which you would have to appeal to a gatekeeper of some sort, that's still there and that's still robust. And plenty of people find a lot of success within those pre-established industrial workflows and institutional frameworks. So that's one way of doing it. But the thing is, if you are waiting to be let in, you're already a little bit behind. My general advice, both for people who are in the university and people who are, outside of a university framework at all, is two things. One, portfolio work. And it doesn't matter if it's good yet. You're going to do a bunch of stuff that you're not in love with before you do something that you think actually represents your vision, because you have to find what that vision is and you have to develop the skills, technically speaking, in order to communicate within this language. So just get out there and make stuff. And whether you're passionate about it, whether it's something that's for a client, whether it's something that you're doing with a friend group, essentially spend the first couple years that you are interested in this, one, figuring out if it's for you, two, figuring out what your position would be within these structures, what you actually have a passion for, and what you actually would like to build your skill sets within. And three, just saying yes to projects. Saying yes to projects that clearly don't work for people that you disagree with fundamentally, like ideologically speaking, and don't compromise your values. But if people seem chill, if the project seems okay, if you're not hurting anybody, you might as well say yes. Yeah. Beyond that, and as attached to that notion, make a community. Find a community. And it doesn't have to be a big community, but it just has to be a group of people who will be there, who are interested in the things you're interested in, who are able to come up with projects, who hopefully you can establish a framework in which you do stuff with and for them, and then they are there to collaborate on your projects as well, so that you can have a kind of division of labor. Yeah. Now, alternatively to that, if you just want to bury yourself in a project and spend years on it and you think you can finish it, that's also a route. But that's a rockier, thornier path,
Yeah, of course. How do you specifically try to inspire students to kind of break into that realm too?
For me, it's a balance between presenting the fundamentals, hoping that people engage with them, hoping that you gain some respect for the craft. But beyond that, it's also about kind of stepping back and not trying to talk over people with regard to the topics they should be talking about, with regard to the filmmakers or the backgrounds or the cultural frameworks that they might want to extend or work within. And as a prof, right, you have your favorites and you have your passions and you have the things that got you into that world. Mm-hmm. And you want to balance being able to share that with people so that they can access it if it's something they're interested in. Mm-hmm. But on the other hand, you also have to be able to step back and recognize that they might be working within entirely different paradigms, with entirely different backgrounds, with entirely different things that they love, and you want to let them love those things, and allow them to build skill sets using those as platforms.
Yeah. Do you think it can be hard sometimes for not just you, but professors in general to kind of take a step back when it comes to helping students in that way?
I think it depends a little bit on the personality of the prof. The group personality that often develops and is a volatile beast from semester to semester, depending on your groups you're working with. But it also depends on the subject, in that some areas, right? Like if I'm teaching a theory class, we have to understand the theory, right? Yeah. There's not a lot that you can do to evade having to do that work. Mm-hmm. But in a production environment, once you're able to establish a basic skill set in which people aren't going to, be obstructed in their learning or break the equipment, then there's a lot more freedom to be had, which is one of the reasons I love teaching this.
Yeah. Okay, I guess my big thing is you had to give one central piece of advice that both helped you build your career that you think other students could transfer into their own careers, what would be that one piece of advice that you would give to students?
Don't wait for people to give you a project if you have something you already want to say. And I should clarify, I'm not saying like be a self-made person. I'm not talking about bootstraps theory. I'm talking about that if you wait for permission to engage with yourself creatively, you're going to be waiting a long time. And you are going to deny yourself the possibility of working within the relatively flexible time of your life that is being a student.
Yeah. Perfect. Yeah. Let me see if there's any other questions. Sorry. Kind of taking a break for a second. So I'm interested. We're not talking about that. Oh, yeah. Okay. All right. Are there any clubs or extracurriculars around campus that either you partake in or maybe you'd recommend students go in if they're going into the production field?
Sure. I used to be the advisor of WCU Studios. They are mostly focused on a more journalistic bent, but in the past they have also done sketch comedy and other more narrative frameworks of production. So that club is flexible enough and has sort of enough continuity that if you just need a group of people who are already doing a thing, they are there. In the past, we've also had other groups, Purple and Gold Productions, who were focused more heavily on narrative and I believe comedic frameworks. Beyond that, though, I think it's more about your specific interests. I know, for instance, we have a manga club on campus. I know we have a variety of different like fandom groups. We have a bunch of different like artistically oriented clubs as well. And quite honestly, given the stage of life that most students are at, we're talking like late teens, early 20s, as well as like the necessities of a student lifestyle, like how classes work and how like off time works. Any club where you can find people who want to produce anything, right? Whether it's music, whether it's graphic art, whether it's comics, can often be spun into projects that also involve the audiovisual element.
Yeah.
So it's more about finding that dynamism and that need to harness a voice. That to me is more valuable than something that's specifically focused with doing something with a camera.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, I think that's kind of all the questions I had written down. I guess before I do the outro, is it just anything? This isn't going to be, I'm editing this part out.
Sure,
but
sure.
if we, just anything at all you want to add about anything at all, if you can feel free to do that now, and I just won't include a question part of it. You can just say whatever you want.
So, okay, give me a second.
You're good.
All right. So I'm going to say something now that's maybe going to downplay my role as a prof and the university's role in your lives. But I think that one of the main things that we can consider for anybody who wants to get involved in a variety of creative fields, but especially in video production, your grade kind of doesn't mean much at all. You can get an A in a class and not be at all interested in or passionate about or skilled in videographic storytelling or filmmaking in general. That being said, I think that you should think about your classes and this environment as a platform for you to find opportunities to find people who have affinities with you, to find opportunities for projects that you can work on, and find opportunities to start building a portfolio, because the portfolio is the thing that's going to open doors for you. It won't be my recommendations, it won't be the grades you get, it probably isn't actually going to be the projects that you do for your classes. It's going to be everything that sort of surrounds these more structured elements of the university life.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. Well, thank you so much for coming and sitting with us and giving your insights about for students here at WCU. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
If you want more stories like this, you can go to WCUPALife.com or follow us on Instagram at WCUPALife. Thank you so much for watching.